just have time for one more question.
All right, my question is for Dr. Shabir. In your introduction, you stated that God the Father will make his son, Jesus, his enemies, Jesus' footstools. According to the Christian belief, everyone who doesn't follow and believe in God are, in essence, enemies. If the Christian view of God is correct, in keeping with the objectivity of this debate, then wouldn't it be just and right for God to do away with those who didn't give themselves to him while he gave them time to, and when he returns to make everything new, or his second coming and all that follows?
Well, it brings us to think about how much responsibility God has. You know, if I dig a hole, then I have the responsibility to barricade it and put warning signs so nobody falls into the hole, right? So God has created hell. If people are falling into hell in large numbers, then God has some responsibility as well. I mean, that's fair. We know that, and we know that God is fair. The Quran describes him as Ahkamul Hakimin, the best of judges. So from the Muslim conception, God gives people leeway and excuses, even though people might appear to us to be very wicked, but it's possible that God may forgive some of the people of whom we have no expectation that God will forgive them. And sometimes we feel ourselves righteous. We think, why should God forgive him? I'm trying to be righteous. But think about the story of the prodigal son. The one son stayed with his father, obeying and doing everything right. The other son was prodigal. He went away and he came back. When he came back, he was welcomed with open arms. The father loved him and welcomed him, and nobody had to pay the price for his wickedness. The father just simply forgave him. Something like this is the Islamic concept. Now, there are people who are wicked, people who do not know God, people who disobey God, and so on. So we leave the judgment up to God. But would God deal with these people like in a violent way in this world? Well, the New Testament presents Jesus as the Davidic Messiah who should sit on the throne and rule, but he didn't rule. Instead, he was hanging on a cross. So what Christians did was they tried to re-envision who Jesus was, and they represented him as a peaceful individual, but there was the undercurrent thinking that he must come back and rule like that, and hence we have the book of Revelation. When we know that, we can go back and see that there are little hints here and there. For example, in the beginning of Luke's Gospel, it says that the angel Gabriel announced to Mary that what will be born of you, this is the son of David, he will be the Messiah. He will be the Davidic Messiah. Now, in the Muslim conception, Jesus is not violent. He's not represented as the Davidic Messiah, which means there's no violence to be credited to him. And the Quran only vaguely refers to his return, if at all, and doesn't say that he will be violent when he returns.